Welcome back to Dirty 20, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the number of players at our tables. Let's get on with the show. The number of players that you have at your table for your game has such a huge impact on the way the game's played that I thought I would give you some of my experiences with different table sizes and some advice as to best how to run those tables. So I participated in a West Marches style game where I would DM one week and then a friend would DM another week, and we were trying to do this to get people into D&D at the shop that I was working at. And it was really, really fun. It was craziness. And over time, it became really, really popular. Now, what this meant was that on any given day, you could have anything from, like 6 players to 14 players, which was the highest number that I had at my table. And so I thought I'd talk a little bit about larger groups and how to DM those. Now, just to be clear, I wouldn't recommend playing with 14 people at a table. Definitely not. I would say anything over 8 or more would be a large group for me, and it's really tough to DM that kind of game. Mostly because it's just keeping track of everything that's going on can be quite difficult. But I think it's also there's limited time for everyone at the table, and inevitably everybody's going to feel a little bit disappointed by not really, getting to do much. I mean, you literally might be waiting for 20 to 30 minutes before it gets to your round in a combat encounter. So, I mean, imagine that, where you get 1-2 turns maybe. But if you do find yourself in this situation, then there are a couple of suggestions that I can give you to try and make it run a little bit more smoothly. A friend of mine taught me this trick, and it's fantastically good. Basically, give every one of your players a piece of paper, get them to write on it their name, as in their character name, potentially the player name if you don't really know who you're playing with, just to remember, but character name, hit points, armor class, and passive perception. And then you put them like almost like a deck of cards, like one after the other, right? You get everyone to roll initiative at the very beginning of the game, and that's the order that you put the cards in. Now, this isn't for combat. You will roll initiative for combat later on, but it's just so that you can keep things straight at the table, knowing who has gone, who's going to go next, and all of these things. By the way, passive perception, 10 plus your perception modifier. I always forget that, and I always have to look it up. Just, little bit of information. Combat really is where things are going to get really, really bogged down with a larger group. And there's lots of tips about how to speed combat up online. I recommend you look up some to see if there are any that you would like to try out. But one that I've found quite useful is to roll both to hit and damage at the same time, so that if you do hit, you don't waste time kind of finding the dice and rolling those. It might seem like you gain nothing from it, but actually it is quite useful. Also, every time that you go to the next piece of paper or the next card with the character name, tell them, okay, it's your turn, and then look at the next one and tell them it's your turn next. Make sure you know what you're going to do. Again, rather than, okay, it's your turn, and then sit there and think about what you want to do, you want to remind the player that's turn is up next in combat to have whatever they want to do prepared. In terms of encounters and stuff in a session with a larger group, I would restrict it to 1 social encounter, 1 exploration encounter, and 1 combat encounter max. If you haven't seen our videos on encounter building, please check them out. They'll give you a good breakdown of how to come up with one and how to make it exciting. Now, a medium group is probably about 5 to 7 players. It's probably a little bit larger than what I would like really want in a kind of perfect world, but it's in my opinion the more common size groups that are out there, about 5 to 7 players. This can also be a tough group to run for, um, at least in my perspective, mostly because of the sharing the spotlight issue. Now, sharing the spotlight is a really important maxim that I have when I run a game, and that is to try to make sure that in a session everybody has their moment to shine, and nobody kind of hogs the limelight, or if people are just very very passive, I still want them to have a moment to look back on in the session. So whether that means solving the puzzle or getting a big old hit on a bad guy in combat, or maybe convincing an NPC to help the party out, all of these kinds of moments where someone shines and someone does a great thing, I think are really important. And every session, you should strive to have spotlight moments for every single one of the players at the table. Now, I find that with these kind of medium-sized groups, sorry, I struggle a little bit with that because, 5 to 7 players, it's a lot of people to have a kind of great moment for. And inevitably, I find that there's always one person who comes away from a session feeling disappointed, and that always has an impact on me as a DM, where I feel like, oh, I didn't hit all the notes. Now, small groups, 3 to 4 players. This really, really is the sweet spot in terms of spotlight sharing. For the most part, it's not hard, in a 3-hour to 4-hour session to allow everybody to kind of shine in a given moment. I feel like characters get to develop, so if, you've spent a lot of time into your background and your character and all of these things, oftentimes there isn't really enough time to kind of talk about, oh yeah, my character's sordid history or their dark secret or whatever. There really isn't that much time to kind of delve into that kind of stuff. But with the 3 to 4 players, it is a little bit easier, and you have to facilitate that. You have to, as a DM, kind of allow people downtime, right? Not like downtime as in, not adventuring, but downtime as in, gathering around the campfire, right? Where people get to share and actually like connect and almost bond. I think those are often kind of missed opportunities. And with a group larger than 4 people, I think it's very, very difficult to do. It's also just easier to run, right? You're not kind of considering all these different moving parts, whether it's, you're trying to find a creature that's going to be challenging but not kind of stomp the party, or, a villain or a creature that makes it so that, the party just walks all over them. Like, it's just that little bit easier if you have fewer moving parts to consider. There are a few drawbacks, though, to the smaller group, whether it's, fewer heads to get around a puzzle or some kind of encounter. And if you don't allow for that kind of bonding and sharing of history and stuff like that, cracks can soon appear in the party, and you start thinking to yourself, well, why are these people kind of traveling together? Why are they adventuring together? And, all of those things make it just a little bit more difficult to create that cohesive party that you're always striving for. And, with the opportunity to develop the character and get some of this backstory out, if people don't kind of grab onto it, or if the DM doesn't really facilitate that, then it becomes a bunch of edgelords really trying to just do their own thing. And, unfortunately, games fall apart for things like that. Now, I think it's important to say that there is no perfect number of players at a table. I've enjoyed very, very large games. I've enjoyed very small games, medium games. It's just different, and it's something that you have to think about and consider when either setting up your campaign or preparing for that one shot. The Essentials Kit and Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which is soon coming out, actually have rules for sidekicks, and this is a way to basically allow people to run one-on-one games where you have one DM and one player that has their character and a sidekick or two. And I think that's very interesting. I personally have never tried those rules, but I'd love to hear from you if you have. Were they robust enough? Are you hoping for something specific from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything that would make the experience better? I think the bottom line, though, is don't take on more players than you can really handle. It's happened to me before where you announce to a few people, oh, I want to play some D&D, I want to start a campaign. And then people are like, oh, can I join you? Can I join you? Can I join you? And then suddenly you're, looking at 8 people in a campaign that, you're like, oh God, I need to do a lot of prep work for this. So, set out what you want from the very beginning when you're preparing the one shot or the campaign, and be like, okay, I want 4 players for, Strahd or whatever it might be, your own homebrew stuff. Because trying to please everybody is just going to make you not have fun. And, as a DM, you are totally entitled to have fun. And it's not only about the players and are they enjoying themselves. You are also in that group. You have to enjoy yourself. And if it's too much, if it's too stressful for you, session after session, then definitely cut down on numbers. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope that you have enjoyed the video as always. Like and subscribe, share it with your friends, and let us know in the comments what some of your experiences have been with large groups or small groups, whether it's online or offline. I'm particularly interested to hear from anyone who's run a one-on-one session with the sidekick rules, and whether it's a viable thing or whether they think that maybe it needs work, and what that work might be that will be appearing in Tasha's Cauldron to Everything. So once again, thank you so much, everybody, and keep slaying. If you've enjoyed this content, then please smash that like button, subscribe, share this around online, and come and visit our website, www.lavictoriaproductions.com, to see all our past episodes, as well as our blog posts and all the stuff that we're currently working on at La Victoria Productions. Why not reach out to us and tell us what you think of our videos? You can reach us on Twitter. @MouthLaVictoria is our producer. We are also on Instagram. I am EnanoLVP, and our producer is Jazzy J. Cherot. We're also La Victoria Productions on Facebook and LinkedIn. Come on by and let us know what you think.